I don't know why she confronted me with this paradox today. Story 1. My significant other and I had a conversation at the beginning of our relationship about raising a flag if one of us started gaining too much weight for the other's liking. For me, it's a yes, as I know we share the same opinions on the matter. Story 2. Answer her questions with your own questions. Wife. Would you tell me if I am overweight? Do you want me to lie to you? Wife. Does that mean you'll honestly tell me if I'm overweight? Why would I lie to you about being overweight? Wife. Aha. So you do think I'm overweight. Is that what I said? Or is that what you heard? Wife. Why won't you tell me the truth? At this point, the crying should be in full swing. Your situation won't be any better, and there are no lessons to be learned. Story 3. No, you have a mirror. You can see yourself. If you are unhappy with your body, my opinion is not going to change yours. Story 4. I wouldn't volunteer the information. I'm not about to say that you've been overweight for a while, but today you officially crossed over into an unhealthy weight category. Story 5. My wife and I are truthful with each other. I'm brutally honest, which can be both good and bad. If my wife asks if she's fat, I say no because she isn't. If she inquires about an outfit that looks unflattering or makes her look larger, I will tell her honestly. My wife softens her truth but is still just as honest. If I ask if I'm overweight, she might say something like, yes, but it isn't unappealing or you conceal it well enough. Story 6. You're overweight. That's my response. I would tell her directly that she's overweight. No, that dress doesn't make your rear look large. Your rear makes it look large. Story 7. I don't care how much the women I have dated said they wanted complete honesty. I have never, not once, answered this question honestly, and it ended well. Never. Story 8. No, I would not tell you, and you should not ask. You are an adult, you own a mirror, and you have access to a scale. If you gain weight and are unhappy with the situation, I would appreciate it if you did not involve me by asking me to criticize you. I do not tolerate being made the bad guy in situations in which I had no part in creating. Story 9. Honey, I didn't want to tell you this, but you should try out for the gravy seals. This method has been historically proven to potentially end the life of the speaker, usually resulting from blunt force trauma, being sat on, having eardrums ruptured by screaming, or a hard kick in the abdomen causing an appendix rupture. Proceed at your own risk. The user is not responsible for any injury, severe injury, disability, or loss of life resulting from the use of this method. Story 10. I would answer, yes, I would tell you if you're overweight. Now, if she asks if she is overweight, it depends on whether she is worth the effort. If she's my wife, yes, I would tell her. If she were my girlfriend, I probably would have already left. If she is someone other than that, it isn't worth the discussion. Of course, you're not overweight. Story 11. Why did you forget how to use a mirror? This answer does not yield any positive results and is ill-advised. Story 12. It depends on the mood and context. Verbalization is a communication tool, not just a way to convey or request information. Is she asking to see if you are trustworthy? Is she inquiring whether you are only interested in her physically? Is she trying to determine if you are kind? It is really not about her appearance. That is a matter between her and her friends. It is about you and who you are, based on what you say and especially how you respond. Story 13. Next time she asks, react like this. North Koreans mourn the death of leader Kim Jong-il. Story 14. The correct answer in my experience is, I see you every day, so if you have lost or gained weight, I wouldn't be able to tell. Sorry. It is best to ask a girlfriend of yours. Even though you have nothing to apologize for, remember to say sorry anyway. Story 15. So she didn't ask you if she was fat. She asked if you would tell her if you thought she was fat. The answer should be, if I ever thought you were fat, I would tell you, because unless she has health problems related to weight or becomes obese, she is not fat. If your significant other approaches you and asks if a specific item of clothing makes her look fat, as I advised my son when he started dating, that question is often asked in a way that is hard to detect and in a language that is difficult to understand. There is never a good answer to that question. The only safe response is to tell her she is beautiful. That's it. Then give her a hug, kiss, and playful gesture to deflect any thoughts about it. Women often ask this question because they want to know if they are still attractive to us. They look in the mirror and see a change from what they consider their ideal and need reassurance that everything is all right. Story 16. Truthfully, her friends may not tell her the truth. If you care about her, tell her the truth. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States. Heart disease claims more lives among women each year than all cancers combined. The truth could save her life. Story 17. Say the following: Honey, as people get older, their metabolism changes. Your body will change and so will mine. I look forward to seeing how we change together. Story 18. I believe the size of your body doesn't determine how much I care about you, and it's not important to me. Story 19. First, let me ask you, how long do you see us being together? I think that will affect my final answer. If it is less than 2 more weeks, you should probably sit down. Story 20. The nice version I would guess is, I noticed you gained some weight in a short time. Is everything in your life okay? Did something happen? Story 21. Honesty is the only true obligation you have in a relationship. If you think she is overweight and you like her less for it, you may struggle to be a good partner, but it is still better to express your truth than to remain silent. This way, you can have a conversation about it, and she may respond strongly while you might reply that it is what it is. If you are both fortunate, you will reflect on your values, and she may choose to watch her diet. To clarify, I didn't mean that you are a bad person or that I was suggesting you wouldn't like your girlfriend if she gained weight. This was an example of why I think it is important to express what you think, even if it is not the most politically correct. Story 22. I have always been open about my thoughts, and people often say that's one of the reasons they appreciate me. They know where they stand, and if they seek an honest opinion, they approach me. When my friends, regardless of gender, ask for my opinion, I provide it with honesty, as I hope they would do for me. Sometimes the truth can be painful, but it is usually the best fuel for change. Story 23. When I get asked if a dress makes someone look fat, I respond, listen, you are the most beautiful girl in the world, but to answer your question, the dress doesn't make you look fat. It's your body that makes you look that way. I hope that helps. Then I give a playful gesture and a big grin. I might get playfully hit in return, but I wouldn't date someone who couldn't laugh at that kind of humor and who keeps asking such questions. Story 24. Absolutely. If that ever happens, I'll help in any way I can. I want you around for a long time and care about your health. Story 25. I take my health seriously. She does too. I can't imagine she wouldn't notice, but if for some reason she didn't, I would. It would be inconsiderate if your friend was in danger and you didn't tell them. Story 26. It doesn't matter what I think. Do you think you're overweight? I'll tell you when I believe it's potentially affecting our relationship. I love you dearly, and I hope you know that through my actions and not just my words. Story 27. The only right answer is yes. When she inevitably accuses you of lying, protest. But you're not fat. Never deviate. Story 28. Say she is overweight. Do not be mean, and you have to validate her emotions. She may get angry at first, but she will recognize your strength, which will lead to fewer arguments in the future. Story 29. This has been my only answer to this for a while. Story 30. I did answer and she understood. My previous girlfriend asked me something similar. Then she went on, "Oh my gosh, you are such an insensitive person. How can you say this to me? You are supposed to be supportive." To which I replied, "You ask," I reply. "Don't ask, so I won't reply." She never asked anything like that again. After a couple of months, she ended it because I wasn't supportive. My last words to her were, "If you are walking towards the cliff, I won't walk with you holding hands. That is not support." Sometimes, I still think about what I avoided. Story 31. How do you feel? Do your clothes fit well? Are you comfortable? Weights never mattered to me unless they affect your comfort in life. Story 32. What do you consider fat? And what are your subjective and objective measures for which you want me to evaluate you? Story 33. I would always be honest and tactful with my wife. She would rather hear it from me. She would be disappointed if I didn't support her on such a personal issue. Story 34. I would tell her the truth. If you can't be truthful and honest with your partner, you are with the wrong partner. Now don't get me wrong. Being honest has nothing to do with being unkind. Whatever you want to say, even if it might be unpleasant, there is always a good way and a bad way to express it. Story 35. Yes, because we are open about our preferences. But I do it gently, explaining that we will not be restocking your favorite snacks this month. She is more blunt. Story 36. Ask her if she wants you to. If my wife were to ask me if she is overweight, and she is, I would tell her the truth. However, I am not going to go out of my way to upset her. Story 37. Baby, if you couldn't tell by the fact you shop exclusively at plus-size clothing stores, or by the way I call you my marshmallow and say you look like my favorite plus-sized actress, I don't know if I can make it any clearer that you're a wonderful person. Now, don't get sassy about it. You know that's what I love, but still, there's no denying what's right in front of us. Story 38. Only if I think it is important or relevant, I guess. It would be kind of rude to just say, hey honey, I think you have gained weight, out of nowhere. At the same time, I am aware you probably would like to know if you were. In my opinion, though, you would know you're overweight by the time it reaches a concerning level, whether I mentioned it or not. Oh, you're worried about what others will think of you. Well, if they are so concerned about how much weight you have, that sounds like they are the ones with a problem, not you. Anyway, how many pancakes do you want? Story 39. Yes, without hesitation. I have had this conversation before, and my ex and I got into good shape as a result. If you are worried, we can work out together and start counting calories now before you gain weight. Story 40. I made it clear that I am not entertaining loaded questions. This is your last warning. Story 41. I would say no. You wouldn't. Scales and measurements can answer that for her based on what she thinks her size should be and what she considers fat. There is plenty of information available to determine what is healthy. She shouldn't leave it up to you to make that decision. Story 42. Be honest. Would you tell her? Tell her. I would. If you wouldn't, let her know. Probably not. You cannot account for another person's unspoken rules or desires. Be truthful, and that is the best you can do. Story 43. It's a trap. She would prefer honesty, but her love for you may cause her to exaggerate your response in her mind. If you tell her she's overweight, she might always bring it up or feel insecure. Story 44. If she asks her partner, she doesn't want an answer to the question but support for her struggles. Depending on her actual weight and mindset, I would not provide the same answer. A good response one day can be the worst one a month later. Story 45. Would you appreciate my honesty, or would you be upset? Story 46. I was asked that not long ago. I responded, they haven't found the body of the last person who answered that question. This led us to discuss eating habits and activities. We are both feeling off due to hectic schedules and poor eating. I'm a middle-aged man who works 60-hour weeks and eats when I can. She is a yoga and CrossFit instructor with a chaotic schedule. Our vacation starts in the morning, and we already have menus and dining options planned. Story 47. The best part is that little African girl saying, our village only has 5 overweight people, and you are 3 of them. Story 48. I would probably just ask, would you like me to? Maybe she does want an honest opinion, or maybe she just wants reassurance. I would ask her if she knows what she wants. Story 49. Tell her yes, you would. That way, even if she gains some weight, she will believe you every time you tell her that she isn't overweight. Story 50. She and I are now losing weight together. She has lost about 10 pounds and I have lost about 35 pounds. Story 51. I'm not one to play games or respond to veiled requests for reassurance. If I'm not complimentary enough or not attentive to the standard she requires, that's a very different conversation that as a mature adult I should be capable of having. So my answer would be harsh but completely honest. No, if you're overweight, You already know it. You won't need me to inform you of something so obvious. I will, however, let you know that your weight is a problem for me if it gets to that point. Now please stop asking silly questions and acting foolish. Then I would hand her a snack because you're not yourself when you're hungry. Story 52. My answer is, if you were, would you want me to tell you? I do what she asks. It's her body, and most of the time I don't mind following her lead on her preferences. Unless she directly asks if I think she is overweight, I will give her my honest opinion. If I am in a position where I need to speak up, I will never lie to my partner. Story 53. How is that a paradox? It's a simple question. Would you tell me if I was fat? Yes, I would tell you if you were fat. No, I would not tell you if you were fat. Like that's the easiest form of that question you could answer. Honey, am I fat? Or honey, does this item of clothing make me look fat? Are the harder questions. Either way, if you choose to outright lie to your partner, you lack integrity and don't deserve a relationship. Story 54. I reply honestly, and most of the time I speak from the heart and ask why I am being asked such a question. I wonder if I am not doing enough, if I am ignoring you, or if this is attention-seeking. I also express my feelings. It is an awful question to ask me. I love and respect you, and if I didn't, this would not be a relationship. I simply would not be here. Please do not expect me to be open and honest and maintain integrity while putting me in situations where I am insulted and where bitterness and fighting can arise. I love you. Do not be that person. If I am neglecting you, tell me that you miss my presence and feel like I do not look at you the same way. Let me understand where you are coming from, and I can make adjustments immediately. Please do not ask me that. It is not healthy. Story 55. Regardless of her size, I tell her it doesn't matter what I think. I will not entertain becoming a tool of validation for her because one day I might give the answer she doesn't want to hear, and I will be the one held at fault. I will not allow myself to be put in that position. It only matters what she thinks. Self-love needs to come from within her for it to be genuine. It's not healthy for anyone's self-esteem to depend on the validation of others, even a spouse or partner. Story 56. If she asks you, she already knows the answer. It is unfair and a loaded question. It is easy to see whether you are overweight yourself. The real question is whether you are okay with how I look. Story 57. Here's the thing. That decision should come from within. Each person needs to determine when they are unhappy with their appearance and health. No one should shift the responsibility for that decision onto another individual. Additionally, regardless of who asks you to inform them when they are gaining too much weight, I can guarantee it will not be received well when you do. Story 58. I would tell you when I start losing attraction to you. This may sound like the stereotypical blunt, I'm just brutally honest attitude. Obviously, I would try to be as respectful of her feelings as possible, but I would tell the truth about it. If she couldn't handle that, she would be unfit for a relationship. She is not entitled to my attraction, and I am not entitled to hers. This is a dynamic every couple has to work on and maintain. I have been in one relationship that ended because my partner was too emotionally fragile to discuss either of our feelings. I wouldn't recommend it, and I will not have another one. Story 59. I wouldn't tell her that she is overweight unless she asks. However, if she does inquire, I will not lie. I will tell her the truth and then spend 30 to 60 minutes demonstrating that I am still very attracted to her. Story 60. I would answer yes. Surely, she will ask, am I fat? Next, you say yes. When she gives you that sad look, you say, pretty hot and tempting with your attractive figure. She should laugh and forget all about her insecurity. Follow me for more charm. Story 61. Would you tell me if I am fat? Then stare at her unblinkingly for 5 minutes. She will never ask ridiculous questions like that again afterwards. Story 62. This is not a paradox. When a girl asks this question, she is not overweight. If she were, she would be aware of it. Regardless, the answer is no. There is no scenario where providing any other response yields positive outcomes for either party. Do not pay attention to the unrealistic opinions shared by biased online users. The answer remains no. Story 63. It depends on whether the partner prefers an uncomfortable truth or a comfortable lie. I used to think differently about my wife. Now, years, personal development, and some self-growth later, I no longer care and will simply state the truth. Story 64. I would explore her goals. What does she want? What does she want her body to achieve, and how does she want it to look, and why? Is she making this effort for herself, for you, or for others? I would focus on supporting her in whatever she is striving for and place less emphasis on her appearance. I would also encourage her to prioritize her health and happiness, emphasizing that these are what matter most to you. Appearance is secondary. Story 65. First, I'd ask if she wanted the truth or sugar-coated words. If she said she wanted the truth, I would tell her she better not get mad if I told her the truth. I would also let her know if she gained weight. Story 66. Honestly, the brain is deceitful. I thought I looked 140 pounds when I weighed 185. I deceived myself into thinking that size 14 and size 10 were just an inch difference. I looked at pictures of my fluffy face and thought I should drop a pound or two. But food is so yummy. My daughter suggests healthy options, and I sneak in some comfort food. It helps to keep snacks out of the house because it's easier to avoid them, but I managed to buy 3 slices of pie at a diner now and then. My husband loved me, but he has passed away now. I'm skinny and not as happy. It's a strange feeling. Story 67. I don't discuss women's weight. This is simply a statement that shows I do not answer that question either way. Story 68. My answer is yes. Both my wife and I want to live as healthily as possible, so she wants to know if she is visibly gaining weight. She wants to do everything she can to maintain her health, and she understands that being overweight can significantly shorten one's life. Story 69. I think the answer has to be no, because if she were concerned about her weight, she would already know. You don't care because the more of her, the better. Story 70. Tell her to determine her body mass index and consult the standard chart. Opinions are biased. Numbers are not. Story 71. One thing my female friends appreciate, but also dislike about me is my honesty. If they ask me about their weight, I always tell the truth with consideration and kindness, ultimately prioritizing honesty and concern for their well-being. I also provide them with dietary advice, exercise suggestions, and even medical recommendations, drawing from my experience as a former medical practitioner. I am willing to exercise with them and motivate them if necessary. Story 72. I see many people here suggesting the original poster should say yes. I am unsure why his wife asked, but I can assume she may have gained some weight and is seeking validation that he still loves her and how she looks. Always remember, if you have been together for many years, a woman's body changes. We do not look the same in our 30s as we did in our teenage years. If I were the wife asking such a question, the best response would have been, "No, honey, I love how you look." Or, "There's more of you to love and I love it." However, it depends on various factors, such as whether she has gained a significant amount of weight or just a little. Trust me, she likely knows if she has gained weight even before he does. I may receive criticism for this perspective, but I believe this would be the best response to avoid hurt feelings and prevent arguments afterward. Story 73. I didn't tell my ex-wife about it. This was before we got married, and she found out from a nurse who weighed her. She was in tears and asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" My answer was, "Because I like my balls in their current location and shape." Story 74. No, I wouldn't, because it's not my job to do so. Physical fitness is your responsibility. You will know if you are not in the shape you want to be. You don't need to hear it from me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.